Some guys renovate kitchens to add value to their homes. I was trying to patch up a marriage. Turns out, drywall is more forgiving than a cheating wife. My name is Tom Granger, and I'm 39 years old with calloused hands and a smart mouth that's gotten me into more trouble than I care to admit. Used to be a cop, until I decided I preferred fixing things that actually stayed fixed. Now I run a small contracting business, specializing in the kind of home repairs that makes suburban wives happy and their husbands' wallets lighter. The irony wasn't lost on me that I could fix everyone's house except my own marriage. It was a Tuesday morning in October when I first noticed the cracks. Not in the foundation of our split-level ranch in Maple Grove. That was solid as the day I'd inspected it 12 years ago. No, these cracks were in my wife Celeste's behavior. Hairline fractures in her routine that most husbands would miss. But I wasn't most husbands. 20 years of marriage and 8 years as a cop had taught me to notice details, like how Celeste suddenly started taking her phone into the bathroom, how she developed a newfound interest in yoga pants and expensive coffee runs that took 2 hours, how she'd stopped complaining about my sawdust-covered work boots by the door. That last one should have been my biggest red flag. Celeste complaining about my mess was as reliable as sunrise. When she stopped caring about my boots, it meant she'd stopped caring about our home. And when a woman stops caring about her home, she's already moved out mentally. Dad, you're burning the eggs again. Lucy, my 16-year-old daughter, slid into the kitchen wearing her typical uniform of skepticism and yesterday's mascara. She had my dark hair and her mother's green eyes, but thankfully inherited my ability to see through bullshit. They're not burned. They're well done, I said, scraping the slightly blackened scrambled eggs onto her plate. Builds character. Everything builds character with you. She poured herself orange juice and sat at our kitchen island, the one I'd installed 3 summers ago, during a weekend when Celeste had taken the kids to her sister's place. Where's Mom? Good question. Celeste had left early, claiming she had a breakfast meeting with her HR team. On a Tuesday, at 7 a.m. Right. Work stuff, I said, which wasn't technically a lie. Whatever she was doing probably involved someone from work. Henry, my 13-year-old son, shuffled in wearing pajama pants and a gaming headset around his neck. He was going through that awkward phase where his limbs seemed too long for his body and his voice cracked at the worst possible moments. Is Mom bringing home dinner tonight? He asked, already knowing the answer. Probably not. She's got that big project. Another non-lie. Cheating on your husband was definitely a big project. I watched my kids eat breakfast, these 2 amazing humans who deserved better than parents who'd forgotten how to love each other. Lucy was sharp enough to sense the tension, but Henry was still young enough to believe in the fairy tale of permanent families. After they left for school, I stood in my kitchen drinking coffee that tasted like disappointment and staring at the refrigerator covered in family photos. There we were at Disney World 3 years ago, all smiles and matching t-shirts. Celeste's arm around my waist, kids grinning with Mickey Mouse ears. When had we stopped looking at each other like that? My phone buzzed. Text from my best friend Marcus, who owned the gym where I pretended to stay in shape between jobs. Coffee? You sound like you need it. Marcus had been my partner back in my cop days before he got out and opened Ironworks Gym. He was one of those guys who could bench press a small car, but also remembered your birthday and asked about your kids. The kind of friend who knew when something was wrong before you admitted it to yourself. 20 minutes later, I was sitting across from him at Grounds for Coffee, watching him demolish a breakfast sandwich while I pushed eggs around my plate. So, Marcus said, you look like someone ran over your dog. Except you don't have a dog. Celeste is cheating on me. The words hung in the air between us like smoke. Saying them out loud made them real in a way that hurt worse than I'd expected. Marcus stopped chewing. You sure? Pretty sure. All the classic signs. New underwear, mysterious phone calls, sudden interest in personal improvement. She's been going to yoga classes that don't exist and having work meetings that happen at weird hours. You follow her? I'm not that pathetic, yet. I took a sip of coffee. But I've been paying attention. Last week she said she was working late on Thursday. I drove by her office at 8 p.m. Parking lot was empty. Could be innocent. Could be. But then there's the credit card statements. Charges at restaurants I've never been to. A hotel bar downtown. Victoria's Secret purchases that haven't made it into my bedroom. Marcus leaned back in his chair. What are you going to do? I don't know. Part of me wants to confront her, have it out, see if we can fix this. But another part of me, I trailed off, not sure how to finish that sentence. Another part wants to burn it all down? Something like that. Tom, listen to me. Whatever you're thinking, be smart about it. You've got 2 kids who need their dad to not be in jail or broke or crazy. He was right, of course. But sitting there, imagining Celeste with some other man, laughing about her boring husband who fixed other people's problems while his own life fell apart, I felt something cold and calculating settle in my chest. I need proof, I said finally. Then get proof. But get it clean, and get it smart. And when you have it, we'll figure out what comes next. That afternoon, I came home to an empty house. Celeste's car was gone, and there was a note on the kitchen counter, written in her careful handwriting. Tom, going to a wellness retreat with some girlfriends. 7 days of meditation and self-discovery. Need some time to think about us. We'll call you tonight. Take care of the kids. 7 days. A wellness retreat. With girlfriends. I laughed out loud in my empty kitchen. It was either that or put my fist through the wall I'd just repaired last month. Sure, honey. Find yourself. Just try not to get lost in someone else's sheets. I called Marcus. She's gone. 7-day wellness retreat starting today. Convenient timing. Very convenient. I walked to the window and looked out at our neighborhood, where everyone pretended their lives were perfect and their marriages were solid. I'm going to find out who he is. Tom. I'm going to find out who he is, and then I'm going to make them both wish they'd made different choices. The line was quiet for a moment. Then Marcus sighed. What do you need? That night, after I'd helped Henry with his math homework and listened to Lucy complain about her chemistry teacher, I sat in my home office and started making a list. Not a to-do list or a grocery list, but something more focused, more purposeful, a revenge list. At the top, I wrote, find out who he is. Underneath that, gather evidence. And at the bottom, in capital letters, make them pay. I was still staring at that list when my phone rang. Celeste's name appeared on the screen, along with a photo of her from our anniversary dinner 2 years ago. She was smiling at the camera, wine glass raised in a toast to our supposedly eternal love. Hi, I answered. Hi, honey. How are the kids? Her voice sounded different, relaxed, happy in a way I hadn't heard in months. They're fine. Lucy asked where you were. I told her you needed some time away. This place is amazing, Tom. So peaceful. I think this is exactly what I needed. In the background, I could hear music. Not meditation music or nature sounds, but actual music. Like from a restaurant or bar. Where exactly are you? I asked. It's called Serenity Springs. It's about 2 hours north. Very exclusive. No phones during the day, which is why I'm calling so late. Serenity Springs, I repeated, already pulling up Google on my laptop. Sounds expensive. It's an investment in our marriage, Tom. In us. A quick search showed me exactly what I expected. No Serenity Springs wellness retreat anywhere within 2 hours of our city. There was a Serenity Springs assisted living facility, a Serenity Springs mobile home park, and a Serenity Springs Baptist church, but no meditation retreat. I'm glad you're taking care of yourself, I said, my voice steady despite the rage building in my chest. I love you, Tom. I know things have been hard lately, but I really think this will help. I love you too. The lie came easily. I did love her, or at least I loved the woman she used to be. The woman who'd married me in a small church ceremony 20 years ago and promised to be faithful until death do us part. But I was starting to hate the woman she'd become. After she hung up, I sat in the dark for a long time, listening to my house settle around me. This house where we'd raised our children, where we'd fought and made up and built a life together, where I'd apparently been the only one still trying. Tomorrow, I decided, the real work would begin. Wednesday morning brought rain and the kind of gray sky that matched my mood perfectly. I dropped the kids at school and headed to Marcus's gym, where I found him setting up equipment for the morning crowd. You look like hell, he said by way of greeting. Feel worse, she called last night from her fake retreat. Could hear restaurant music in the background. Marcus handed me a cup of coffee from the pot he kept behind the front desk. So what's the plan? I need to find out where she really is, and more importantly, who she's with. You want me to call in some favors? I still know guys who could. No, I shook my head. This stays between us for now. I don't want it getting back to her before I'm ready. What I didn't tell Marcus was that I'd already started my investigation. After Celeste's call, I'd spent 2 hours going through our phone records online. Our family plan showed me exactly where her phone had been when she called. Downtown, at the Marriott Hotel bar. Not exactly the meditation retreat she'd described. I'd also found something interesting in her text messages from the past month. The phone company's website didn't show message content, but it did show numbers and timestamps. There was one number that appeared frequently, always during business hours, always followed by calls that lasted 20 to 30 minutes, a number I didn't recognize. I need you to do something for me, I told Marcus, but you're not going to like it. Try me. I handed him a piece of paper with the mystery number written on it. Call this number. Pretend you're calling about a job. See who answers. Marcus looked at the paper, then at me. Tom, please. I need to know who I'm dealing with. He sighed and pulled out his phone. I watched him dial, my heart pounding harder than it had any right to. Hello, Marcus said in his professional voice. I'm calling about a contracting job, and I was given this number. Oh, I see. Is this Ethan Ward? No, I think I have the wrong number. Sorry to bother you. He hung up and looked at me. Ethan Ward. Sounds young, professional. Apologized for not being able to help with contracting work. Ethan Ward. I had a name. Ring any bells? Marcus asked. Maybe. I was already pulling up Celeste's LinkedIn profile on my phone. She was connected to hundreds of people through her HR job, but I scrolled through until I found him. Ethan Ward, Business Development Manager at Celeste's company. His profile photo showed a guy in his mid-30s, with perfect teeth, and the kind of haircut that cost more than I spent on groceries in a week. His bio mentioned his passion for disruptive innovation and synergistic solutions, which told me everything I needed to know about his personality. Coworker, I told Marcus, showing him the photo. Figures, office romance, classic midlife crisis material. Marcus studied the picture. Looks like the kind of guy who uses cologne as a personality substitute. I need more than a name and a LinkedIn profile. What kind of more? I thought about that. What did I need? Evidence, obviously. Photos, maybe. Proof that would hold up in divorce court and custody hearings. But more than that, I needed to understand what I was up against. Who was this guy? What did he have that I didn't? Why had my wife of 20 years decided he was worth destroying our family? Everything, I said finally. I need to know everything. That afternoon, I did something I hadn't done since my cop days. I conducted surveillance. I parked across the street from Celeste's office building at 5 p.m. and waited. I felt ridiculous sitting in my work truck, watching people in business clothes stream out of the glass tower where my wife spent 40 hours a week. But I didn't feel ridiculous for long. At 5:23 p.m., I saw him. Ethan Ward looked exactly like his LinkedIn photo, except better. Taller than I'd expected, well-dressed in a way that suggested money, confident in the way that comes from never having to worry about making payroll or fixing your own plumbing. He wasn't alone. The woman walking beside him had blonde hair and wore a dress that probably cost more than my truck payment. She was laughing at something he'd said, her hand resting casually on his arm in a way that suggested intimacy. But it wasn't Celeste. I watched them walk to a silver BMW parked in the executive section of the garage. The woman kissed him goodbye, not a friendly peck, but a real kiss, before getting into her own car, a white Mercedes SUV. Interesting. Ethan Ward was apparently a busy man. I followed the BMW from a distance, staying back far enough to avoid detection, but close enough to see where he went. He drove to an upscale apartment complex on the north side of town, the kind of place that advertised luxury living, and charged accordingly. I parked across the street and watched him disappear into a building marked Riverfront Towers. Through the lobby windows, I could see him checking his mailbox, chatting with the doorman like he belonged there. My phone buzzed. Text message from an unknown number. Having an amazing time. Wish you were here, Stum. Below the message was a photo of 2 wine glasses on a white tablecloth, candles flickering in the background. Romantic dinner for 2. I stared at that photo for a long time, sitting in my truck in the parking lot of my wife's lover's apartment building. The rage I'd been carrying around for weeks crystallized into something harder and more focused. Celeste wanted to play games? Fine. But she was about to learn that I'd been playing games longer than she'd been alive, and I was much better at it. I drove home to find Lucy doing homework at the kitchen table, and Henry playing video games in the living room. Normal teenage behavior in an abnormally broken home. Any word from Mom? Lucy asked, without looking up from her chemistry textbook. She sent a picture of her dinner. Looks like she's having a good time. Good for her. There was an edge to Lucy's voice that made me look at her more carefully. She was 16, not 6. She understood more about adult relationships than I gave her credit for. Lucy, Dad, I'm not stupid. Mom's been acting weird for months. She's either having an affair or planning to leave you. And honestly, I'm not sure which would be worse. The casual way she said it hit me like a punch to the gut. If Lucy could see it, how many other people knew? How long had I been the clueless husband, the last to know about his own marriage falling apart? What makes you say that? Lucy finally looked up from her textbook. She bought new clothes and started wearing them to work instead of around the house. She's been taking calls in the garage. And last week, I saw her texting someone at 2 in the morning when she thought everyone was asleep. You saw her texting? I got up to use the bathroom. Her door was cracked open, and I could see the light from her phone. She was smiling, Dad. Really smiling, in a way I haven't seen in forever. I sat down across from Lucy, suddenly feeling every one of my 39 years. I'm sorry you're dealing with this. Are you guys getting divorced? The question hung between us like a loaded gun. I wanted to lie, to protect her from the ugly reality that was about to destroy our family. But Lucy deserved better than lies. I don't know, I said honestly. Maybe. She nodded like she'd been expecting that answer. Will we stay here? Yes. Whatever happens, you and Henry will stay here with me. This is your home. What about Mom? I don't know about Mom. That night, after the kids were asleep, I sat in my office and started building a file. Not just on Ethan Ward, but on everything. Phone records, credit card statements, social media posts, anything that could help me understand what my marriage had become and how to protect my kids when it finally collapsed. I found Ethan's Facebook profile, which was set to public because apparently he'd never heard of privacy settings. His relationship status was listed as, "It's complicated," which was interesting considering the blonde woman I'd seen him with earlier. More interesting were his recent posts. Check-ins at expensive restaurants, photos from weekend trips to wine country, comments about living life to the fullest and embracing new adventures. The kind of midlife crisis behavior that would have been pathetic if it wasn't destroying my family. I scrolled through his friends list and found several people I recognized from Celeste's company, including the blonde woman from earlier, whose name was apparently Jessica Chen, and whose relationship status was listed as married. So Ethan Ward wasn't just sleeping with my wife. He was apparently running some kind of extramarital social club. My phone rang. Celeste again, calling from her fake retreat. Hi, honey, how was your day? Good. Kids are fine. Lucy's worried about her chemistry test tomorrow. Tell her she'll do great. She's so smart, just like her dad. The compliment felt like a knife between my ribs. How could she say things like that while she was sitting in some hotel room with another man? How's the retreat going? Really well. I'm learning so much about myself, about what I want from life. And what do you want? There was a pause. In the background, I could hear a man's voice, too quiet to make out words but loud enough to confirm what I already knew. I want to be happy, Tom. I want to feel alive again. And you can't feel that way with me? Another pause, longer this time. I don't know. That's what I'm trying to figure out. After she hung up, I poured myself 3 fingers of bourbon and stood on my back deck, looking out at the neighborhood where we'd raised our children. Lights were on in windows up and down the street, families settling in for the night, probably dealing with their own problems and secrets. But none of them were dealing with this. None of them were married to someone who could lie so easily, so convincingly, about where they were and what they were doing. I finished my bourbon and went back inside to continue building my file. Because tomorrow, I was going to start building something else, a plan. Thursday morning, I did something I hadn't done in 15 years of marriage. I hired a private investigator. Her name was Rachel Martinez, and Marcus had recommended her after I'd spent half the night explaining my situation. She was a former police detective who'd gone private after getting tired of departmental politics and bureaucratic bullshit. We met at a diner on the south side of town, far enough from my neighborhood that I wouldn't run into anyone I knew. Rachel was in her 40s, with graying hair and the kind of steady gaze that came from years of seeing people at their worst. Your friend Marcus says you need help with a cheating spouse, she said after we'd ordered coffee. My wife is having an affair with a coworker. She's currently at a fake wellness retreat with him, and I need proof. Proof for what? Divorce proceedings? Maybe. Probably. But first I need to understand what I'm dealing with. Rachel pulled out a tablet and started taking notes. Tell me everything you know. I told her about Ethan Ward, about the mysterious phone calls and credit card charges, about the fake retreat and the photos of romantic dinners. She listened without judgment, asking clarifying questions and making notes. This Ethan Ward, she said finally. You said he works at your wife's company? Business development. Based on his social media, he's got expensive tastes and flexible morals. Married? Relationship status says it's complicated. But I saw him with another woman yesterday. Someone named Jessica Chen, also married according to her Facebook. Rachel's eyebrows went up. Sounds like he's got a type. Married women? Married women with something to lose. It's a power thing. He gets the excitement of an affair without the commitment, and they can't make demands because they're both cheating. That made a sick kind of sense. Ethan Ward wasn't just destroying my marriage. He was probably destroying other marriages too. A serial homewrecker who collected other men's wives like trophies. What do you want me to do? Rachel asked. Find out where they really are. Get photos. Document everything. That's going to cost you. Surveillance, travel expenses, court-admissible documentation. We're talking several $1,000s. I thought about our savings account, about the college funds I'd been building for Lucy and Henry, about the retirement money that was supposed to keep us comfortable in our old age. Do it. Tom, Rachel leaned forward. Before you commit to this, you need to understand what you're buying. I'm going to give you evidence that will destroy your marriage. Once you have that evidence, you can't unknow it. There's no going back to pretending everything is fine. Everything isn't fine. No, but it could be survivable. Marriages recover from affairs all the time. Couples go to counseling, work through their problems, come out stronger on the other side. Is that what you think I should do? Rachel was quiet for a moment, studying my face. I think you should be very sure about what you want before you hire me to get it for you. I thought about Celeste's voice on the phone. How happy she sounded when she was lying to me. I thought about Lucy's matter-of-fact assessment of our marriage, and Henry's innocent questions about when Mom was coming home. I thought about 20 years of building a life with someone who'd apparently decided I wasn't enough anymore. I'm sure. Okay then. I'll need a retainer and everything you've already collected. Phone records, credit card statements, photos, whatever you've got. I handed her an envelope containing copies of everything I'd gathered, along with a check that represented most of our emergency fund. How long will this take? Depends on how careful they're being. If they're sloppy, I'll have what you need in a couple of days. If they're smart about it, could take a week or more. They're not that smart. Rachel smiled for the first time since we'd sat down. Famous last words. But in my experience, people having affairs think they're much cleverer than they actually are. That afternoon, I tried to maintain some semblance of normalcy. I had a job replacing a bathroom floor in a house across town, the kind of mindless physical work that usually helped me think through problems. But today, I couldn't stop thinking about Celeste and Ethan Ward, imagining them in some hotel room, laughing about her stupid husband who was home fixing other people's bathrooms while his own life fell apart. My phone rang around 3 o'clock. Unknown number. Tom Granger. Mr. Granger, this is Rachel Martinez. I've got some preliminary information for you. My heart started pounding. Already? Your wife and Mr. Ward are registered at the Grand Resort in Lake Geneva. It's about 90 minutes from your location. Very upscale, very romantic. They checked in Tuesday afternoon under the names Mr. and Mrs. Smith. Mr. and Mrs. Smith? Really? People aren't very original when they're cheating. I'm driving up there now to get photos and document their activities. How did you find them so fast? Credit card records. Your wife used your joint account to pay for spa services yesterday. The charge showed up this morning. I almost laughed. Celeste was using our money to pay for her romantic getaway with another man. The audacity was breathtaking. There's something else, Rachel continued. I did some digging on Ethan Ward. He's been married twice. Both marriages ended in divorce due to infidelity. He's currently engaged to someone named Amanda Foster, a lawyer who works downtown. Engaged? Engagement announcement was in the papers 6 months ago. Wedding is supposed to be next spring. So Ethan Ward wasn't just cheating on his fiancée with my wife. He was cheating on both of them with Jessica Chen and probably others. The man was running a one-person adultery enterprise. I'll call you tomorrow with a full report, Rachel said. Try to get some sleep tonight. Sleep, right. I picked up the kids from school and took them out for pizza. Partly because I didn't feel like cooking, and partly because I wanted to spend time with them before their world exploded. They were both in good moods, chattering about their classes and friends and weekend plans, normal kid stuff, the kind of conversations that would become much more complicated once their mother's affair became public knowledge. Dad, Henry said around a mouthful of pepperoni pizza. When is Mom coming home? Sunday, I think. Will she bring us presents? I don't know, buddy. Maybe. Lucy gave me a look across the table, one of those teenage expressions that conveyed volumes without saying a word. She knew I was lying about something, even if she didn't know exactly what. That night, after the kids were asleep, I sat in my office staring at Ethan Ward's LinkedIn profile. Business Development Manager, which was a fancy way of saying salesman. His bio mentioned his expertise in relationship building and strategic partnerships. The irony was overwhelming. I clicked through to his company's website and found his professional headshot. He looked confident and successful, the kind of man who wore expensive suits and drove luxury cars and never worried about mortgage payments or college tuition. Everything I wasn't. Was that what Celeste wanted? Financial security? Status? Or was it simpler than that? Just the excitement of being with someone new, someone who didn't know all her flaws and hadn't seen her throw up with morning sickness or cry over her mother's funeral. My phone buzzed. Text message from Celeste. Missing you and the kids. This place is helping me remember who I am. I stared at that message for a long time. Who she was. She was a wife and mother. She was the woman who'd promised to love me in sickness and health, for better or worse, until death do us part. Apparently, she'd decided she was someone else now. I typed back. We miss you too. Can't wait for you to come home. Another lie. I was dreading her return, dreading the confrontation that was coming, dreading the moment when I'd have to look her in the eye and pretend I didn't know what she'd been doing. But I was also looking forward to it, because for the first time in months, I was going to have the upper hand. Friday morning brought rain and a phone call from Rachel Martinez. I've got what you need, she said without preamble. Photos, video, documentation of their activities. Do you want to meet, or should I email everything? Meet, same place as yesterday. An hour later, I was sitting across from Rachel in the same diner booth, looking at a tablet full of evidence that would destroy my marriage and probably several others. The photos were exactly what I'd expected, and somehow worse than I'd imagined. Celeste and Ethan Ward holding hands as they walked through the resort's gardens. Celeste and Ethan Ward kissing by the lake. Celeste and Ethan Ward entering their hotel room together, not emerging for hours. But it was the video that really got to me. Rachel had somehow managed to record them having dinner on the resort's terrace, and I could see Celeste laughing in a way I hadn't seen in years. She looked happy, genuinely, completely happy in a way that made my chest ache. There's more, Rachel said, swiping to a new folder. I did some additional research on Mr. Ward's romantic history. The next series of photos showed Ethan with different women at different times and places. Jessica Chen from his office, a redhead I didn't recognize, and several others, all of them wearing wedding rings, all of them looking at him like he was the answer to their prayers. Serial adulterer, Rachel said. I found evidence of at least 6 different affairs in the past 2 years, all with married women. Your wife is just his latest conquest. What about his fiancée, Amanda Foster? I spoke with her yesterday, pretending to be planning a surprise party. She has no idea what her future husband has been up to, thinks he's a devoted partner who's working hard to build their future together. I studied the photos again, trying to process what I was seeing. This wasn't just about my marriage anymore. This was about a pattern of behavior that was destroying multiple families. What do you want to do with this information? Rachel asked. I'm not sure yet. Tom, you need to be careful here. You've got enough evidence to win any divorce proceeding. But if you're thinking about revenge, you need to be smart about it. What kind of revenge? The kind that gets you arrested or sued. I've seen men in your situation do stupid things. Don't be one of them. I nodded, but I was already thinking about possibilities. Ethan Ward had built his little empire of adultery by preying on vulnerable married women. What would happen if those women and their husbands knew what he was really doing? I need copies of everything, I said. Tom, I need copies of everything, and I need contact information for his other victims. Rachel sighed. I can't give you other people's personal information. Privacy laws, ethics, basic human decency. Then give me their names. I'll find the contact information myself. What are you planning? I'm planning to make sure Ethan Ward never destroys another marriage. That afternoon, I sat in my office with printouts of Rachel's evidence spread across my desk like pieces of a puzzle. Photos, credit card records, hotel receipts, phone logs, a complete documentation of my wife's betrayal and Ethan Ward's pattern of predatory behavior. But I also had something else, a plan. It started with a simple Google search. Amanda Foster, attorney, downtown law firm. Her professional website included a headshot and bio, along with her direct phone number and email address. Then Jessica Chen, whose Facebook profile listed her husband's name and workplace. David Chen, accountant, married 15 years, 2 kids. One by one, I researched the other women in Rachel's photos. Most of them were easy to identify through social media and public records. All of them were married. All of them had families that were being destroyed by Ethan Ward's selfishness. By evening, I had a list of 8 names and contact information. 8 women whose lives were about to change, and 8 husbands who deserved to know what was happening to their marriages. I started with Amanda Foster. Miss Foster, my name is Tom Granger. I have some information about your fiancé that I think you should know. The conversation lasted 20 minutes. By